I want to ask you, you mentioned about the fight at the StubHub and how you guys had to have the bleachers and the standing room only and stuff like that, and how, like you said, there's, you know, like the whole Mexican crowd is rooting for Triple G. And it seems
not all of them, maybe 90%.
Right, yeah. He had family there, I guess. but I just kind of like talk about that, like kind of grassroots movement. It seemed like it really kind of started kind of like an underground rapper or something. You know what I mean? Where it's just like everyone kind of heard about him. He's selling out shows, like you said. He sold out shows in England. He shows up MSG a few times. Everywhere he goes, he sells out the Forum. Yeah. And kind of my second part to that question is, do you see maybe Triple G's fans kind of outnumbering Canelo fans or maybe it's split? Like,
I would see, I could easily see it be split. You know, I think the tickets are so hard to get. It just depends on which side gets the tickets. Right. But as far as international fan base, you know, when you look at all the UK fans that Gennady had when he went over there and sold out 02, you know, we got people flying in from Australia regularly to see him fight. You know, naturally all of his Kazakh fans that fly in, the other European fans when he fought in Germany, he made a lot of fans, and you know, just and even the Mexican fans. You know, there's going to be a lot of Mexican fans that are going to be for Triple G that night.
Yeah. And Triple G has, like, I asked Lampy about that actually, and he mentioned. I asked him about Chavez, and he was like, you know, who knows what's going to happen. This was before, obviously. Yeah. He's like, but Canelo needed to fight somebody because once he fights Triple G, he doesn't want a whole crowd of Mexican fans wearing Triple G hats.
That's true, and that really, it really has been a grassroots movement. That's a good way to put it, because, you know, our goal to bring him here to the States and have him fight was to build him up in the media capital of the world, which was New York City, and there's no better place than Madison Square Garden. So we brought him to the theater and had the fight against Gabe Rosado. You know, the HBO debut was up in Turning Stone, so that was one of those where we didn't really have control of the show. That was a show with Artie Blue. He was actually, what a lot of people seem to forget, he was supposed to fight Pirog on that show. It was originally that date. The reason why we got that slot, and I've been pushing HBO and Showtime. I've been pushing both of them. You know, Triple G's the undefeated WBA middleweight champion. He'll fight anyone. He doesn't need a lot of money. He just wants the exposure. And then HBO was the first one to really agree to it, but kind of reluctantly, because that original date was Daniel Geale, who was the IBF middleweight champion, against Pirog, who was the WBO middleweight champion. Supposed to be a unification fight.
That fight you've been talking about.
And then Gennady was going to fight Sturm as the mandatory. Sturm got the exception from the WBA one more time because he was able to offer Geale more money to go to Germany and fight him than what Geale was making to fight Pirog. And so Geale went to Germany, and that left the open slot against Pirog. Nobody wanted to fight Pirog at the time after he beat Danny Jacobs. Yeah. So we jumped at the opportunity, and then 3 weeks before the fight, Pirog injured his back and couldn't fight. And then Artie came up with the most non-similar opponent to Pirog. Pirog was a big right-handed boxer, puncher, I should say, and he got the European champion from Poland, who was a slick southpaw mover. And you know, a lot of times, especially a champion would say, no, that's too much of a different style. And Abel didn't care, Gennady didn't care, and so we went through and took the fight. And when he had that knockout, then you know, it's really
what was that guy's name? I remember him being Polish, but I don't remember his
Boxa.
Yeah. That's right, yeah. Because I remember he just
was
beat somebody too. Yeah, he was good. Yeah.
Sebastian Silvestre.
That's who it was. Yeah, yeah.
It looked very impressive. I think in 3 rounds he stopped him. He was European champion. So even though a lot of American fans didn't know who he was a solid guy. And you know, when some people kind of critique the people that Gennady's fought, I mean, they have to look a little bit deeper, as to the lengths that we went through to get guys to fight him. I mean, Martin Murray, nobody wanted to fight Martin Murray when he controversially lost to Felix Sturm in Germany. Yeah. And then he fought Sergio Martinez in Argentina. He got credit for 1 knockdown, but arguably he knocked him down twice over there.
Very close fight.
And so there was nobody was like volunteering to fight him, and he couldn't get the visa for the U.S. So we actually made the fight over in Monte Carlo, because he could go there, and so we were really looking for the best guys that would get in the ring with him, and that was just a perfect
That was
example.
11 rounds of brutality.
Yeah, no, but I remember thinking going into that, I was like, if G beats Martin Murray, like G's the real deal, because Martin Murray should be the middleweight champion,
Right.
Like, you know,
Twice,
so
two times, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned the sparring that Canelo and Triple G did, you know, 5-6 years back or whatever it was. Kind of, what have you heard about that from Abel, from G? Like, what was kind of your take that they gave you, like how it went?
You know, Gennady just says that they were helping each other prepare for fights. Canelo was training for a fight. Gennady was just up there happy to spar with whoever they could spar with. So, you know, they were just working. Naturally, Canelo was much younger. I think he might have been 20 years old at that time, you know, 20, 21. And so, you know, Gennady was kind of an unknown commodity over here. But again, I think they just had a mutual respect because Gennady could see that Canelo was a special fighter at the time, even though he was young.
Yeah.
He still had that rare talent, and he respects that. And I think the same, you know, you could say that for Canelo. Now, naturally, you know, 6 years later, and Canelo, you know, having, you know, a number of fights under his belt, and Gennady, you know, dominating the middleweight division the way he has now, it's really, you know, kind of built up to where these guys are going to put the best of their skills on display in September.
It's just interesting. I watched on the Ring. They had an interview with Canelo after the sparring.
Okay.
And it's funny to hear Abel Sanchez is the one translating for him. It's funny. It's kind of like you hear that now, like wow, like how it comes full circle.
Knowing years from now.
Yeah.
I think from that sparring, Doug Fisher actually wrote about it, and it was like the first time said, you know, this guy is a tremendous guy that was sparring with Canelo. 'Cause Canelo was a known name.
Right.
And Gennady still, you know, hadn't had his, you know, television exposure over here, so he really wrote a big story like this is going to be the next star in boxing.
Are you?
You know, Abel has said he wouldn't be surprised if it goes 12 rounds just because Canelo's a durable guy. He's fast. He showed a tremendous amount of poise in the Chavez fight. You know, arguably, what was it?
I mean, do you really call it a fight against Chavez? I mean,
But I mean, he fought it, what was it, like 14 pounds heavier than, or no, 9 pounds heavier than he's fought before. So, you know, that was a big jump in weight for him. Chavez physically was not bigger. I mean, you could say Chavez really was drained,
Yeah.
so he really didn't bring much to the table, but you really don't know, you know, how that's going to affect the fighter.
Yeah.
You know, Chavez looked like he was finally taking the fight serious and was training,
Right.
and then you don't know. You know, he's a big guy, he's got talent, and maybe he could have landed one of those big punches they landed against Sergio Martinez.
Yeah.
Like, I think he ruined Sergio's career because he was losing pretty much every round. In the 12th round, he almost had Sergio out.
Yeah.
And you know, Sergio twisted his knee and hasn't been the same since then.
You're right.
So you know, it's hard to predict. I mean, naturally, after the fight, you can say, well, Chavez didn't really put up much of a fight, but you know, at the same time, I don't think Canelo allowed him to get into the fight. You know, he was throwing great combinations. He was very fast, and you could see his body was very muscular. He looked physically very strong at that weight. So I think at 160, you'll see, you know, Canelo really in his peak physical condition and a very motivated Triple G, and that's what makes this fight so intriguing. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an early knockout. I don't expect it, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it goes 12 rounds.